You know something? When I'm not called the tax terminator, I'm called the laptop lawyer. And the reason for that is I'm a bit of a digital nomad myself. So a lot of the clients that come to us here at Nomad Capitalist ask me, Javier, how do you do it? How do you keep your taxes in line if you're traveling all around the world? And a lot of our clients are in the similar situation. They work from their laptop is their money-making machine, and they want to know how they can claim the best laptop-friendly tax residence. So that's today's topic. Let's dive in. All right, guys, so I'm here in Europe, and today I wanted to focus on specifically the best European tax residences for laptop entrepreneurs, for laptop investors. You know I'm talking to you. You know you've got your laptop. Your laptop is your money-making machine. You make money online. You're a consultant. You're a lawyer. You're an accountant. You're a computer programmer. You're a crypto trader. No matter what it is, you fill in the blank, you make money off your laptop. You're a location-independent millionaire. That's what you are, my friend. If you're watching this, you're a location-independent millionaire, maybe even a location-independent billionaire. You are the new generation of people who will dominate the global economy, the digital knowledge-based economy. That is you. So today I am talking to those successful people who are changing the economy, changing the way we trade, changing the way we consume anything from entertainment to actual physical goods. So if you're in this category, you're wondering, well, Javier, if you're saying that, I'm independent, you're just empowered me, you're saying, oh my God, yes, I feel it, I feel the energy, I feel it, then why do I need a tax residence to begin with? Like, I'm location independent, so why do I even need to do this? Why can't I just travel the world with my laptop and just forget about it? Well, the reason why you actually do need a tax residence is very simple. Governments haven't caught up to you. You are more advanced, my friends. And unfortunately, most banks out there, most government agencies out there, they do not understand that you're a tax resident of nowhere. That just simply does not work. All right, you need to claim residence in some country because ultimately you're going to have to open bank accounts. Maybe some of you who are only into crypto, and I know my crypto friends are out there, feel free to drop a comment down below and say it. You can say it. You can say, all right, if I'm only in crypto, why do I care about banks? But ultimately, you're going to want to cash out. Ultimately, you do need to transact in fiat at some point, maybe to a lesser extent than the rest of us, but you will need to go through banks at some point. In addition to that, some of you may be leaving high-tax Western countries, and in many cases, in order to properly exit, whether it's Canada, whether it's the UK, France, whatever, you oftentimes need to show that you are actually relocating to another tax residence, that you will not just be empty, that you will not just be in a void when it comes to tax residence. Obviously, Americans, you have, I guess, a slight advantage here. Like, I want to call it an advantage to an extent, which is that because you have citizenship-based taxation, it is, I guess, more natural for Americans to be digital nomads because the tax residence is tied to the passport. Now, it is not particularly a friendly tax residence to have, but it is a tax residence nonetheless. An American can very easily travel the globe, spend time in Thailand, in Malta, in Latin America, and simply say, hey, listen, I'm a US citizen, I have a US passport, I am automatically a US taxpayer no matter what happens, even if I don't spend a single day in the United States. Now, for the rest of us who do not have US citizenship, you do have to claim a tax residence, so that involves a bit more work, but it also gives us the opportunity to actually locate a country that will be a friendly nomadic tax residence, unlike a US passport, which is not really friendly once you start making serious money. Obviously, Americans, you have the foreign earned income exclusion. You've got a couple of advantages here and there. There are some corporate structures that can help you, but ultimately the US does make things complicated from an administrative perspective. So not a great tax residence to have if you're a nomad, but hey, it works. So for those who are not Americans and who need these tax-friendly residencies, let's start with Europe. So here in Europe, where I am today and the video I'm going to be making for you now, there are a couple of options for people who could be, that could be very interesting in terms of digital nomad tax residencies. So let's begin. Number one, where I am now. Malta. So I'm in Malta. I'm in the heart of the Mediterranean. I have these beautiful yachts right here behind me. The lifestyle is absolutely incredible. And guess what? If you don't want to spend much time here in Malta, but you want to use Malta as a home base because it's a member of the European Union, because it will allow you to open bank accounts easily, you can get a digital nomad or a laptop entrepreneur friendly tax residence by simply agreeing to come here, paying 15,000 euros per year as a minimum contribution, and then you're free to travel the globe. You are not required to spend substantial time here in Malta. You are taxed on a remittance basis on anything over 100,000 euros. So if you are spending time here in Malta and you are remitting more than 100,000 euros in income, you do have to pay attention to that. And you also have the add-on benefit of non-Maltese capital gains simply not being taxed at all. So if you're a digital nomad, you want Malta as your home base, could be very interesting from a tax perspective and very good when it comes to banking, especially if you want that top level Swiss or Singaporean bank, maybe that bank in the Channel Islands, Jersey, Guernsey, all of these places really want top level people who are in very clean whitelisted jurisdictions. Malta, definitely a great choice. In addition to that, you could also look at the jurisdiction of Cyprus. Cyprus is also very interesting. Now, Cyprus does have an option that comes with a bit more administrative burden. You have to create some links to Cyprus. You actually have to have a home in Cyprus. By the way, for Malta too, you do have to go in and you do have to rent a property in Malta or potentially purchase a property in Malta, whatever you choose. So in both cases, that is a link that is required. However, Cyprus will give you more favorable tax rules in terms of you not having to worry about remittance-based taxation for a broad spectrum of your income, broader than what Malta offers, but it does require 60 days worth of physical presence in Cyprus, and you do have to make sure that those other ties are maintained. Sometimes it will involve starting a company, actually having some kind of salary in Cyprus, so a bit more difficult to maintain, but still very, very interesting from that perspective. A third candidate that I always like to mention here in Europe is the Channel Island of Jersey. So the Channel Island of Jersey, for those of you who do not know, is a small island in between France and the United Kingdom of Great Britain in Northern Ireland. It's an island that applies English common law. English is widely spoken. They also speak a local variation of French called Jersey, I believe it is. And so you do have a lot of that, let's say, Northern French, Norman influence in there. You really feel that history when you're in the Channel Island of Jersey. But the important thing there is that you have the possibility of becoming a tax resident of the Channel Island of Jersey by simply having a permanent place of abode. So you start to see this is a more or less a common trait, right? Whether it's Malta, Cyprus, or Jersey, you are required to keep a permanent place of abode. In the case of Jersey, they're less specific about the minimum investment you have to make. For example, with regards to or compared to Malta, that requires a minimum level of commitment to the island in terms of that residence, whether it's rented or purchased. You do have to invest a certain amount. Jersey is less specific about that. But the important thing is, if you have a permanent place of abode in Jersey, you can become a tax resident by simply spending one night per year there, and then you're free to travel the globe. Now, the common thing that all three of these jurisdictions have is that you cannot trigger tax residence anywhere else, or else this does not work. This does not work at all. You have to make sure that you are only tax residents of these jurisdictions and that you're traveling, but that you're avoiding triggering tax residence anywhere else in the globe. Now, these are the best three jurisdictions I believe could be very interesting. So, digital nomads, laptop entrepreneurs, if you enjoyed this video, drop a comment down below, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and very importantly, go to nomadcapitalist.com/apply. We'll be waiting for you. Until the next time.